All right, today we are diving deep into one of the biggest showdowns in all of economics, Keynes versus the neoclassical school. And to really get our heads around it, we're going to frame this as a visit to two very different kinds of doctors. So let's set the scene. Picture this. The economy is our patient. It's running a really high fever. That's unemployment. And it's just feeling weak and sluggish. That's the recession. Now, this isn't just some academic puzzle. It's a real, high-stakes problem that governments deal with all the time. The big question is, what's the right move? Who do you call?
Well, you've got two top specialists on call. First up, we have Dr. Keynes. He's the activist. He sees the patient struggling and says, we need to act now. We need immediate, hands-on treatment to fix us. Then you have Dr. Neoclassical, who's more of the observer. He looks at the same patient and says, hold on, the body, the economy, it's a powerful system. It can heal itself if we just give it time. So there you have it, one sick patient, two brilliant doctors, and two totally opposite philosophies.
So where does this massive difference in opinion come from? I mean, how can they look at the same problem so differently? Well, it all boils down to their focus. Are they trying to solve the immediate short-run crisis, or are they playing the long game for overall health? This quote from the man himself, John Maynard Keynes, just perfectly captures his whole philosophy. His point is brutally simple. What's the use of a perfect long-run solution if people are suffering and out of work right now? To him, telling a jobless person to wait for the economy to fix itself is just pointless. The immediate crisis is everything. Now, Dr. Neoclassical hears that and sees things from a completely different altitude. From his perspective, these recessions, these short-term problems, they're basically bumps in the road. Yeah, they're unpleasant for sure, but they're just temporary blips. The main goal isn't to perfectly smooth out every single bump, but to make sure the road itself is leading to a strong, prosperous destination in the long run. And that right there is the fundamental split. It's a question of priorities. Dr. Keynes is all about fixing the immediate painful problems. He sees unemployment and recessions and wants to stop the bleeding. Dr. Neoclassical, on the other hand, is focused on fostering the conditions for long-term growth, even if that means we have to endure some of that short-term pain. Okay, so they've got different priorities, but that's just scratching the surface. The reason their priorities are so different is because their actual diagnoses for why the economy gets sick, well, they're not even in the same ballpark. Believe it or not, this massive debate pretty much hinges on this one seemingly small question. When the economy takes a nosedive, do prices and wages adjust quickly and smoothly to the new reality, or do they get stuck? Your answer to that question pretty much determines which doctor's philosophy you're going to follow. Let's break this down with a quick cheat sheet. First up, that big question, prices and wages. The Keynesian view says they're sticky. Think about it. It's hard to cut someone's pay, right? Contracts, morale, it just doesn't happen easily. The neoclassical view says, no, they're flexible, they'll adjust to the market. Now, because of that, Keynesians believe the key economic driver is aggregate demand. That's just a fancy term for total spending. If people aren't spending, the economy tanks. But neoclassicals say the driver is aggregate supply, our ability to produce stuff, which leads to the bottom line. Keynesians think the market can't be trusted to fix itself in the short run, while neoclassicals have total faith that it can. So for Dr. Keynes, the diagnosis is clear. It's an aggregate demand failure. To put it simply, people just stop spending enough money. And because wages are sticky, companies can't just cut everyone's pay to save costs. So what do? They lay people off. And that creates a horrible downward spiral, right? People lose their jobs. They have less money, so they spend even less. And the whole thing gets worse. The economy isn't sick because it can't make things. It's sick because no one's buying them. Dr. Neoclassical looks at the exact same symptoms and diagnoses a natural market adjustment. He'd say, look, the economy got knocked off course, but don't worry. He believes that flexible prices and wages will act like a built-in GPS, automatically guiding the economy back to where it needs to be. For him, a recession is the market's way of cleaning house and reallocating resources efficiently. It's a painful but ultimately healthy process. So with these wildly different diagnoses, it's no shock that their prescribed cures are polar opposites. You've got one doctor ready to perform emergency surgery, and the other one prescribing bed rest and telling you to just be patient. So here's the Keynesian treatment plan. It's an active 3-step approach. Step 1, the government itself should start spending more money. Think big infrastructure projects, stuff like that. Step 2, cut taxes.
leave more money in people's pockets so they can go out and spend it. And both of these are part of the bigger strategy in step 3. Actively use the government's budget, what we call fiscal policy, to jolt the economy's heart and get it beating again. And then we have the neoclassical prescription. It is about as simple and stark as it gets. It's one piece of advice. Don't interfere. Now, why the patients? Why do nothing? Well, Dr. Neoclassical argues that government intervention often does more harm than good. It can distort the market, create inefficiencies, and just plain get in the way of the economy's natural healing process. The real focus, he says, shouldn't be on short-term firefighting. It should be on creating a healthy environment for long-term growth, things like stable institutions and free trade. So you have these two brilliant doctors with completely opposite advice. And for decades, economists basically fought over which one was right. But today, the thinking has evolved. We've kind of reached a more nuanced understanding. Which brings us to the big billion-dollar question, doesn't it? After all of that, who's actually right? Is it Dr. Keynes, the activist, or Dr. Neoclassical, the observer? And the modern answer, which might surprise you, is that they both are. It's not about one theory being right and the other being wrong. It's about realizing they're just focused on different timeframes and different problems. It's about knowing when to call which doctor. And this is probably the best way to think about it today. Think of Keynesian economics as your emergency room doctor. When the patient is having a heart attack, a deep recession, you need that immediate, life-saving intervention. But for the patient's day-to-day health, their long-term fitness, you need the preventative care, the good diet, the exercise plan that comes from the neoclassical school. So what does all this mean for you and me in the real world? Well, when you hear about things like stimulus checks or government spending packages during a crisis, that's Dr. Keynes at work. Those are emergency tools. But when you hear about long-term policies like free trade agreements or investments in education, that's Dr. Neoclassical guiding the strategy. At the end of the day, modern policymaking isn't a battle between these two ideas anymore. It's a blend. It's about having a full toolkit and knowing which tool to use for the job. But that leaves us with one last massive question for the future. As we face these huge new challenges, things like AI, climate change, global instability, which are both immediate crises and massive long-term shifts, which doctor are we going to need more? The emergency room specialist or the long-term health guru? That's a question that we're all going to have to answer together.